How to become a private English language, conversation and pronunciation tutor. Thank you for choosing this book as your guide to running your own business tutoring foreign intermediate level adult students English conversation and pronunciation skills. Within this book you'll find over 10 hours worth of lesson materials, guides on how to use them in your lessons, comments and stories regarding tutoring situations, links to free online information, a simple plan on how to start your private tutoring business, and much more. While it is difficult to be a teacher of English to high school students, or for native English speakers, it is relatively easy to help intermediate ESL, English as a second language, students with their English. After all, you've probably been practicing your English for at least 20 years, and so have enough knowledge to guide someone in casual English conversation. Setting yourself up as a private ESL tutor is easy to do. An advertisement here, a business card there, and people will start emailing and calling you within days or even hours. An advertisement in the right place at the right price with a focus on Asian, Indian or Brazilian students usually generates a very fast and large response. You may be asking yourself, who is this guy and why does he want to help me? Well, I'm James, and I've tutored English skills to students from Japan, Korea, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Brazil, Iran, and many other countries. And I did this in Sydney for over 13 years. And I'd like to pass on as much as I know to other tutors who have more energy and different perspectives. You may be thinking that there are enough English teachers in the world, that there is way too much competition online, and that you doubt you'll find a student. Well, there is always room for more English tutors, as most private tutors can't teach more than 15 to 20 students a week. That means, depending on where you are, it leaves several thousand more for you. And if you base yourself in a multicultural city centre such as Sydney, London or New York, or a foreign country where English is a second language, that could mean millions of potential students. So this book has been put together with you in mind. After reading this guide, you can get to work straight away on preparing your advertising and organising your lesson plans. Please note that this guide is designed to help you improve the conversation and pronunciation skills of intermediate and some advanced adult ESL students. It is not designed to help you tutoring beginners or children. I'd recommend that you do a college TESOL or TEFL course or literacy course on teaching beginners and children to learn the different skills that are necessary before you start tutoring this special group. Good luck! Okay, so in this short video, I'm just going to read some pages from the book to give you an idea of what's in it. And then if you like it, you can go to Amazon and search for How to Become a Private English Language Conversation Pronunciation Tutor by James Hogan, and the book should come up. Okay, let's talk about Chapter 1, or read from Chapter 1. Chapter 1. What makes a good ESL tutor? You probably already have these qualities in abundance, but just so you know that you'll need them, here's a quick guide. If you already know this bit, feel free to jump to Chapter 2. The following checklist is helpful, and in some cases crucial, in getting your private adult ESL students to come back for more lessons. Patient. Patience is extremely important. You can't do this job without patience. Patience to listen carefully to what your student says. Patience to understand completely what they're saying before jumping in with your answer. Patience to speak slowly and clearly. If something bad has happened in your day, or you've had an argument with someone, or are worried about something, this will show up in your lesson and you may scare your student off. You must leave all problems at home. Your sole responsibility is to your student at that time. If you can't do that, try rescheduling the lesson. Students usually cancel if you reschedule, so this is a last resort option. Understanding. If you have strong opinions on things, you have to leave them at home too. It's rare to get a student that will want to demonstrate his or her feelings for something, but if you do, and you strongly disagree, it's better for you to ask them to explain their point of view. Not only does it help them practice their English, it might also give you information that you can use in your next lesson, because if a student finds you agree with them, they'll be more comfortable with you and will want another lesson. Of course, there are students that want to discuss and debate controversial topics, but you probably won't find this out until after you've got to know your student over a few months. I've only met 2 students who were happy to pay me to debate a topic that they felt strongly about while I played devil's advocate. If this looks like you'll need to be hypocritical, think of it as practicing your acting skills. That's an interesting idea. I haven't heard that view before, and we must discuss this at length at another time, but now let's move on to are good phrases if your student touches on sensitive topics like whales are delicious, or women should stay in the kitchen, or come along to my church Amway meeting this Sunday. So understanding the characters, personalities and ideals of your students is a good way to continue your tutor relationship with them. Interested in everything. One skill I have that keeps students coming back to me is that I'm interested in almost everything. I can talk about Japanese exports, Brazilian criminals, Thai insect dishes, Chinese business development, Taiwanese politics, Hong Kong property, Australian Aboriginal folklore, the environment, superstitions, international commerce, science fiction, reincarnation, religions, aliens. The list is endless, but because I read from a variety of sources regularly, I always have something to talk about, and almost always have a ready comment on just about anything the student asks. What do you know about microparticle physics and time travel? Are you familiar with the natural treatment for gallstones? Do you believe investment is shifting from the US dollar to Chinese yuan? What's the terrier difference between a McLaren Val Shiraz and a Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon? When do you think aliens will finally visit us? But if you don't have the time or inclination to be interested in everything, what do? The first lesson is where you ask all the questions about hobbies and interests. I've learned that surfers of huge Hawaiian waves need to be taken up to the top of them by a speedboat, or that there's a skydiving wind tunnel available in the States for people afraid to jump from a plane, purely because I had 2 students interested in those subjects. Being updated on international news is good too. Get an app for your smartphone that updates you on the latest international news and set tags, keywords and preferences to make sure you're getting only the best and realistic news. Forget dramas, accidents, wars or shootings. Focus on major discussions and advancements in science, technology and business. Find news from the area of the world your student is from and focus on news that reflects their interests. Make sure your topics are current and are not about your city, unless the student specifically requests this. Avoid sports news. Sports news is absolutely no use to you in a lesson unless you're teaching someone who only wants to talk about sport. Accepting. Well, this is extremely important. You must accept everyone and everything if you want to be a good private English tutor. So if you have any racist attitudes, no matter how many stories you have to back up your view, you should accept every person as a unique individual. They may even surprise you. I've learnt that just because 10 of my students from a particular country have been late to my lessons or cancelled at the last minute, it doesn't mean that the 11th will be. Or just because some students from a particular country want to negotiate a lower price, other students actually want to pay the full price for 10 lessons in advance. Clear speaking. Are you a good enunciator? Do you pronounce your words clearly? It's surprising how many people think they do and they actually don't. The best way to find this out is if you record your voice onto a tape and play it back, then compare it to someone reading the news. If you can't understand it easily, if your accent is too strong for someone to understand, you're going to have to start speaking clearly. Now, as I'm reading this book to you, I'm reading with my normal accent, not my teaching voice. A quick way of doing this is to say, "wow," in front of the mirror a few times. If you can't see your tonsils, you're not enunciating well enough. Open up your mouth more when you speak and direct your voice through your mouth, not your nose. Did you know some experienced linguists can guess someone's native language just by looking at the lines on their face? Make sure you have those English language lines on your face that all good enunciators have. A friendly, interested and social personality. If you don't show that you're friendly or interested, you're not going to keep your students for long. You should know about pubs, clubs, travel, adventure, sports, parties and people. Students want to hear crazy stories that increase their knowledge of particular subjects. If they want to ask about drugs, briefly tell them about your time in Amsterdam. If they're interested in travelling, tell them about the flies attacking you in Uluru or spending a night on the side of Mount Fuji. If you were an English teacher at a high school or a college, you'll be teaching from a textbook and the students would listen carefully to every word you say and study for a test at the end proving they've listened. Private tuition has no guarantees. Students can cancel even on the day of your lesson, so make sure you've got the personality to keep them coming back. If you've been working behind a desk for too long and are worried that you may not be able to show your engaging personality, you can brush up your skills by either doing a short customer service, hospitality or acting course. Make sure that the course includes role-playing. You can also join a language exchange group to get some practice speaking with people from around the world. Visit meetup.com to find a group near you. Please note that in 15 years of attending and managing various language exchange groups, I've only ever been able to convert 2 people for a short time to students. Most are there to make long-term friends or to pick up. I've also tried advertising on language exchange sites. No response. People go to language exchange groups or sites because they don't want to spend money on lessons. Only go there so that you can practice being a teacher, but don't waste your time handing out business cards. If they really need a tutor, they'll find you via your website. Skilled at teaching pronunciation politely and carefully. This is probably one of the hardest parts of tutoring English. You're going to have to get into the habit of correcting almost everything that your student says, and you'll need to be able to explain to them how to pronounce difficult words like rhythm, lorry, or exists. Tongue twisters, minimal pairs, and reading practice are good ways of helping students improve their pronunciation. I had a student once who was so distressed by her experience with a previous teacher forcing her to read a turn-of-the-century book about a blind Jewish woman for an entire lesson that she checked with me about what I was going to teach her and would only hire me if the lessons were interesting. Of course, I guaranteed that I wouldn't force her to read something she wasn't interested in. Reading aloud is the best way of improving a student's pronunciation, but a few students hate reading aloud and hope to improve their pronunciation purely by talking with you. In these cases, make sure you have a long list of subjects to discuss so that you can challenge their vocabulary. Also, when you are correcting, concentrate on only 1 or 2 areas per lesson. If your student has problems pronouncing the th, that will be your first focus. Make sure they get it right. No point in totally depressing them during the first lesson by telling them all their pronunciation mistakes. Though, of late, I have been giving my students an overview of all their pronunciation mistakes, but advising them we'll focus on 1 or 2 per lesson. Able to have fun. You can have a lot of fun in your lesson too. Find out what your students love and surprise them with your knowledge in the next lesson. I had a student that wanted to know about anime in Australia, so I researched that, prepared an exercise, got hold of the beginning themes of our most popular anime, and played them to him on my mobile phone. He was very pleased. One of my Korean students really wanted to have a late night lesson at the pub, so she and I went to a popular pub for Koreans on George Street in Sydney around 9 p.m, chatted for 2 hours, drank beer, talked about relationships and Korean customs in Seoul, and I got paid for it. One of my Iranian students enjoyed trying different types of wine. As I have training in wine sales, I was able to take him to many cafes that sold wine, and we drank through the lists throughout our lessons. Possessing some grammar knowledge. True, conversations don't always follow grammar rules, but your students may ask you a question about grammar, so it would be prudent to refresh your memory about this. In the How to Be an English Tutor book, you'll find some suggested books listed. So, in summary, at the end of this chapter, be open-minded, interested, honest, and considerate, and you're already halfway there. The next chapter, chapter 2, is Steps for Starting Your English Tutoring Business. So, if you're interested in becoming an English tutor, I highly recommend my book. You'll be able to find it on Amazon. Thank you so much for listening.